earthquakes on both sides of it. That means in between, we should see something take place. Well, I'd watch out for the volcanoes in here. We've got Iwo Jima. You remember that? Blew last year or something? Some kind of new volcanic activity at Iwo Jima. And then also Sakurajima up to the north over here. Oh, let me mention another one. Nishinoshima, also in the middle of this whole area, which is right here on the Izu Ridge. Sakurajima is over to the west on the west side of the plate boundary, or the other plate boundary that's to the west. But I would watch all of them. Again, we have to watch for seismic and or volcanic, but mainly seismic. If it's seismic, it should be in the 6 range. If it's volcanic, we'll see it on the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center. Over to the west, out in the middle of the Indian Ocean, multiple 5s or 4.9s, depending on who we go with. But that's at the tip of the 5-sided pentagonal star fort shape that most people don't even know exists, that makes up all of Antarctica. Let's turn off all our earthquakes here so you can see it. There we go. Well, hold on. Turn off the earthquakes. There. So the tip of it right up here, and then it spreads out on both sides of Antarctica into a 5-sided pentagon shape, like a compass point, pointing this way. So 5-sided at the tip of it. Boom, that's where our new round of earthquakes is taking place. Up to the north, following the plate boundary out of the Gulf of Aden, going over to the west, over towards Yemen, 4.4, and then out here on the plate boundary, which actually is an ancient plate boundary. The marked plate boundary is to the south in India, going into Afghanistan. But on the north side up here, we're next to Tajikistan and Kazakhstan, I think. Hold on. Hold. Kyrgyzstan. Can't even say it. There it is. So 5.0 on that plate boundary, which is not even marked on the USGS plate boundary map, but it is an ancient plate boundary. Going over to the west, we have the same sized earthquake starting to break out in Greece, in the middle of the Aegean Sea on the north side, on the south tip of Greece, if you want to think of it like that, or in the middle of the Aegean. And then 4s surrounding it. But what happened to the volcanoes here? Everybody was worried about Campi Flegrei. We were also worried about, what was it, Santorini volcano down here to the south. And we were worried about both of those. Everybody was watching them. They were showing major seismic activity. And then it's been, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? So it's been a bit. I don't know if we're going to see an eruption there. I'm not forecasting any kind of volcanic activity. But when I see something like this, I would look where all the sets of rings overlap, because this earthquake here is down below the Aegean. Something is going on down below Crete. So let's zoom in and see where that is. Right here. Well, between Crete and Rhodes, this earthquake here. Something's going on there down below. And we'd look for the next magnitude up, which is 5.3. Now, which struck first? Hold on. 5.3 struck first. So there'll be a new 5.3 or greater in between these two. And that puts us into the middle of the Aegean on the Turkey side. Turkey's to the east, Greece is to the west. In the middle, we have the red arrow. So another similar sized earthquake should break out there. Then we should also see significant activity break out in Romania, on Eastern Europe's edge over here, right on the red arrow. And that could go up into the 6 range or upper 5, 5.9. We've seen multiple earthquakes here. Check it out. Look over the last several days. Boom, 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 boom. Let's turn down the rings. There we go. I mean, you see it. It's a huge cluster going across Turkey, Greece, the Aegean. But we're kind of puttering out right there. That means the wave is stuck in there. It's been reflecting back into itself over and over again as it's fed new power from over here, all in the 5.0 range. Well, that's going to build up. Well, it is building up. Obviously, it's building up there. And it's going to try to go around the outside edge of Europe. At the start of the week, it did. We got a 4 here up at Albania. And here, 4.3. That's in Poland. So those are 2 of the same sized earthquakes at the start of the week. But I would expect this to go the next magnitude up. So we're talking like upper 5s in Romania and most likely over here at Bosnia, going as far west as the Adriatic Sea, just east of Italy. Okay, and then finally, we need to also warn, and I don't know if we'll get the report on this or not, but out here, the UK, we're going to have to watch here along the, coast of France or South UK. But to get the information, we would probably have to get it from the EMSC, who have kind of precluded me from getting that information from them. But keep track there. If you guys keep track of earthquakes in Europe, watch the English Channel for 4.0 level activity. USA, let's get into that. So check it out over the last 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And let's turn down the rings and just turn off the numbers for a second. There, last week's worth of earthquakes. So right down at the Mexico border, I went and looked it up and I couldn't find any volcanoes here or anything. We're on the south edge of the craton, just south of all the volcanic fields, down there in Mexico with the 5. But then we got these 4s. There we go. One in southeast Nevada and one due north, almost exactly due north, up at the Chalice Reserve in Idaho. And no earthquakes reported out off the coast where the axial seamount was supposed to erupt. Nothing still. I mean, obviously they're not showing us the earthquakes. They said that there were seismic signals showing up out off the coast that would, earthquakes. And they don't show them to the public, but whatever. You can see 4s out west, 5 down south, 3s across the plate, 2s over to the east, 1 up in the far northeast. So that's 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s across the plate as we spread out. But it's following the Craton diagram perfectly. And if you're not familiar with the Craton diagram, there it is. Going down through Texas and up the East Coast. It's Captain Obvious level, right? Okay, so the earthquakes match the Craton diagram, going down and then up to the northeast. And that's normal, but the magnitudes have increased. We got 4s and a 5 down in Mexico. The only difference, I would normally expect to see this 5 up here where these 3s are in Texas. So why did it go down to 2 up? Mexico? I don't have an explanation for it, guys, other than the wave broke down and followed a natural fault that far south. Or maybe there's something there that I just don't know about. But as far as I could see, there's no volcanoes there. There's no power plants there. It's literally out in a mountainous area of Mexico. But due north are the volcanic fields. As a matter of fact, let's just go take a quick look over on Google Earth and just kind of show you what I'm talking about here so you can see why I'm kind of puzzled by it striking down in Mexico as opposed to up to the north. It just makes you wonder what's going on there, right? But let's go take a look. We'll get the coordinates from the USGS, who have it at 4.9. Ocampo, Mexico. Ocampo. So, Ocampo, Mexico. Paste and search, and let's see what's there. Okay, like I said, a desert-like mountainous area of Mexico. The surrounding areas, there's just a road. I saw no marked volcanoes. We have the volcano place mark all turned on. Nothing even in the nearby vicinity of the earthquake, but all the way over here is the Camargo volcanic field. Wait a second. Wait a second. Hold on. How did I miss that? Did I say there was nothing nearby? How far is that? That's not exactly that far, guys. Somehow this didn't come on when I was looking last time. You guys may have saw me look it up live when it struck. I didn't talk, but I pulled up the screen and showed everybody. 400,000 feet, huh? Oh, that's pretty far. In miles, that's 90 miles to the center of the volcanic field. But look how far this is. These are all volcanoes here, every one of these splotches. So we're 60 miles, 50, 40. We are 50 miles from a giant volcanic field. No wonder it went here. Look at these. These are ancient cinders from a long time ago. Here, let me show you a more pronounced one so you can really see it. There we go. When I say a cinder, it's literally a cinder cone or spatter cone. Let's get a side angle on these. There we go. You get the picture. Some are small, others are large, and that's the edge of the volcanic field that comes down to here. That's one. This is one. This is one. All right. And they go over to the east. This is one. I just wonder where. Oh, look at all these. Holy cow. Look at this. Let's get a description on this volcanic field because, again, I don't recall ever reading any information on it. The Camargo Volcanic Field. The Camargo Volcanic Field is located in the northern Bolson de Mapimi Graben in north central Mexico, about 150 kilometers southwest of Big Bend National Park in Texas. More than 300 volcanic vents, mostly cinder cones and lava cones, are located in a broad 2,500 square kilometer lava plateau that extends 60 kilometers east and west, 70 kilometers north and south, mostly Pliocene. Okay, so this whole thing is literally this 70 kilometers. Let's just measure in kilometers and just kilometers. Yeah, okay, 70 puts us right about there. And that's about right. That goes right out to that last cone that I just was looking at here and telling you that's what they were. So we're only about 40 miles outside of it. And I always look 40 miles. Man, you would never say, like, look, when you back it out like that. Well, wait, now it's popping out. Oh, maybe because I clicked on it. That's what it is. But there it is. So due north, though, are the volcanoes I was talking about, which is up here at Big Bend, this ancient volcanic field in Texas. Let's turn our borders back on there. Let's make sure they're clicked on. So in Texas, there's a huge volcanic field, and due south, there's a huge volcanic field. Let's just say this whole thing is a giant volcanic field because in between the two, there's one on Mexico's side of the border here that goes over to this. So all of this is a giant volcanic field, basically. I'm shocked to find that out now, 15 years into doing my whole broadcast, that it's not just Big Bend like I thought before, that it's literally all of this is one giant volcanic field on the edge of the craton. Let's go turn our craton diagram back on really quick because, okay, so just south of the Texas panhandle on the left, or west side of Texas, volcanic out the you know what. That is crazy. I can't believe it took me this long to find that. And it does matter because guess what's seeking out that weak point in the plate? What do you want to bet? That it's not just there, all of this, but that if we were to go just a little bit up here, we would find that there's a whole bunch more that's just not, doesn't have a place mark on it. I bet if I went in and looked, I'll find it. Probably on the Mexico side of the border. Okay, anyway, it would be older, it would be more ancient than these here. It would be over to the west. There's so many volcanoes in this area right there. I'm shocked that more people don't go down there for sightseeing. All right, so a 5 down there next to the volcanic field. That makes more sense now. So what's going on up in Nevada? Let's go take a look at Nevada and just see. Caliente again. All right, we're going back to Caliente, Nevada. Now, this is next to a series of old mines. But I think there's something else there. There's faults, man-made faults from mining, and then there's natural faults. Wait, what did I just grab there? Interactive map? What? Clickety click, click, click. Jeez. All right. There we go. Caliente, Nevada. Yep. So when we talk about an ancient volcanic butte, when we talk about an old cinder cone, series of cinder cones that are, you wouldn't even really consider them to be volcanoes anymore, that a long time ago they were when this was all undersea and they left lava flows spreading out on all sides. This was formed undersea when this was all underwater. So to call it a volcano now wouldn't do it justice. At some point in the very distant past, there's been eruptions that came up out of these, but maybe it was, a few million years ago, if you want to go with the professional's time scale. Anyway, we're on the edge of an ancient volcanic field there. It's not even marked on the USGS. The only way we know is by identification from visual identification of volcanoes on the surface. We see many examples of this around the world. Not every volcano is marked, not even close, like for instance down in Texas. All right, so what's going on? Volcanoes, right? Up to the north. This four, I don't even need to look it up. It's in the middle of the Challis Reserve. That is above the deepest part of the magma chamber for Yellowstone. Up at the surface, we have a near 3.0 earthquake and a bunch of smallers. And this is over the past 2 to 3 days. So this is an increase from where we were. The volcanoes are starting to show seismic activity as the wave is going down to Mexico, Texas, and reflecting back into itself. That's what we're seeing now. Not much over to the east. I'm going to expect a few things. One, a new outbreak, a swarm in Oklahoma, and we might have to watch the New Madrid seismic zone as well as Mississippi, Alabama area for new earthquake activity. And the New Madrid might go up to 4 point something plus. Our first four on the New Madrid in a year, so we'd or more. So we'll have to wait and see. But I would think in the next few days, these earthquakes have already struck. And this is for my neck of the woods. So it's a forecast for my own location, which I hardly ever have to do. Only when the edge of the craton's in motion do I have to issue forecasts for my area. And the craton doesn't always go into motion. It's just normally a series of small earthquakes that go across the edge of the craton. But when we start talking about fours and fives going across the edge of the craton, that's, to me, the plate is actually in motion. In the northeast, same time we have to watch for the New Madrid to see a new four or greater in the next few days. We will watch for new mystery booms and rumbles to show up in the northeast, possible methane explosions and other types of blasts to take place in the northeast. And we would look between our current sets of earthquakes, which puts us between North Carolina and who is this? New Jersey. So watch between the two. I would watch the very center of the area between North Carolina and New Jersey, which comes into what is this? Between here and here. So Virginia. We would watch Virginia up to the northeast as far. Let's just put it all the way up to Connecticut. We would just watch for the mystery booms and rumbles. And that's as the plate starts shifting. But the professionals never admit that there's anything going on with mystery booms and rumbles, for instance. They just try to blame it on sonic booms. They'll blame it on everything except for the plate shifting because they don't want to admit the plate shifts across the course of a week and they don't want to panic the public, obviously. So they just kind of don't talk about it. But that's what we look for. Out west, California. Let's get a forecast out for you guys. So while we're going to look for fours going across the plate over to the east, I'm going to watch for a new upper 5 to low 6 to strike out here. I know this is, don't hardly ever have to issue a watch for 6.0 level activity in California anymore. But here we are. We're looking at it. We're swarming out down south. We're swarming at Ridgecrest. We're swarming on the San Andreas. We're swarming on the San Jacinto. We're swarming on the Elsinore. And whenever I start to see swarms in Southern California, threes to the east and over by Las Vegas, for instance, well, we watch for the next step up from where we are. So if we're at currently 3.3 to 3.9, I would look for up to 4.9, but we have to add in the other activity across the plate, fours and fives instead of twos and threes. So that would put another magnitude onto it. So we would look for up to 2 magnitudes larger to strike in Southern California from where we are now. That puts us up to 5.9. Where? Well, it's pretty obvious. We're focused on Southern California, so I would watch LA Basin over to the east. Let's go take a look. The actual LA Basin is quiet, so we don't have any earthquakes in the green area. That's the lower part. And then over to the east, all our activity on the Elsinore, San Andreas, and San Jacinto. So we'd watch Anza Gap. We'd watch far Southern California. We'd watch the Salton Sea volcano location over to Anza Gap. San Diego could strike on the Mexico side of the border. If it does, don't fault me, no pun intended. But I'm trying to get it down to 200 miles. So really, we have to warn everybody from Santa Barbara all the way down to, I don't know, just south of Tijuana out here to the Gulf of California. 200-mile stretch. It pretty much encompasses the whole of Southern California right here. And we would look in the middle of it, which luckily goes out to rural areas over to the east. You got like 29 Palms military base over on the east side. That's the Imperial Fault, the San Andreas. It's where they all come together. But I do have to incorporate in the LA basin into this. I've got family there, so we're gonna have to actually let them know. They got a kid is like 2 years old, so you know you want to make sure that the kids are taken care of. And I'll watch on this for the next, what is today, the 7th. We're gonna watch for 3 to 5 days. If we get to the end of the 5 days, we may do it for a full 7 days, and that would put us till Saturday of this coming week. But look, these earthquakes already struck in the past 2 days. This is my first time getting on and talking in the last 2 days. Otherwise, I would have told you watch out for this a day or two ago. So it's already like 2 days in on what I would tell you to watch for. So let's just say we'll watch for 5 days. That puts us to basically Thursday of this week. But I would think in the next few days we'll be talking about it, Southern California. And then off the coast up to the northwest, you know, they'll report them if somebody puts the pressure on or if I start bitching up a storm, but I'm not looking to butt heads with the professionals. I'm just here to tell you there's not even a zero earthquake reported out there, out on the axial seamount, while they're telling us that there's 10,000 or more earthquakes striking per day. And we already know that there should be 10,000 or more earthquakes per day that strike when this thing erupts. But there's already that going on out there. They just don't show the public. So what they'll do is just turn the feed on, basically. And they may report significant earthquakes along with it. Like out there in the ocean, you might start seeing 4s, 5s, and 6s get reported. But like the professor said, there's so many 4s, 5s, and 6s that strike out here on the axial seamount every week that forecasting them would be like shooting fish in a barrel. And that's from Professor John Vidali, the geophysics medal winner from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, said that there's enough 4s, 5s, and 6s that strike out here every month. Every month that forecasting them would be like shooting fish in a barrel. Well, I'm here to tell you there hasn't been a 6 reported out there in years. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening. We're going to watch for that, though, off the coast, up to 6.0 off the coast. Will it matter? No, because that doesn't cause tsunami activity. It would be associated with the volcano out there on the axial seamount. But on land, down south, down just LA, down to San Diego, just to the east, everybody would feel it if it strikes in an urban area. If it strikes out in the middle of nowhere, everybody just kind of shrugs it off, picks up anything that fell off a shelf, and they move along. But if it strikes in the downtown area, it'll cause significant damage. So I want people to be prepared this week. It looks like we're going to get hit with upper 5 to low 6 on the West Coast. And then in my neck of the woods, a 4. Oh my God. Like the New Madrid, anytime it starts to do anything, my eyebrows raise and everybody else's does too. So have a good morning. Or wait, it's afternoon. It is 4:19 p.m. Anybody got a minute? Hey, brah. Can I mooch a minute? Can I bum a minute off you? Help a brother out, puff puff pass. You damn hippies. You guys be safe. Remember this, and I want to just drive this point home. I haven't said it in a while, but I do need to say it for new viewers. Don't be scared by earthquakes anymore, at least. That we can at least know regions and generally speaking what to look for magnitude wise, unless a wild card is thrown in from some solar event or some impact from a meteorite or something, or man made source of some kind. We can see power generated earthquakes from humans, but that we can replace the fear of the randomness of earthquakes with vigilance of watching, kind of like you watch for a storm or for a flood to come. So if you live along a river, if you understand how rivers flow and water flows, right? You know if there's a storm upstream, you know you can watch downstream for a flood. And the same goes for this, that the way it flows across the plate matters because we can watch it go from one region to the next and we can see it coming our way if there's an increase. That's good news to have. It removes the randomness of earthquakes. There's something causing the earthquakes, and it turns out it's a wave down in the plate that as of yet, or at least until I came along, undetected, unknown about. They thought earthquakes were randomly caused by stress on the plates, but they didn't know what caused the stress. Well, it turns out there's a seismoelectric wave passing through the plates that drops off the earthquakes along the way, and the earthquakes are just a byproduct of this greater wave that's passing from region to region. And it's coming from down below the plates in the center core of the Earth. It's coming up. This seismic wave is coming up from the core of the Earth, far away, over on the West Pacific, where all our deep earthquakes are. They're raised high off the globe. If you're new here and you don't know what you're looking at, the earthquakes that are high off the planet are deep down into the Earth. It's just an easy way for us to see deep earthquakes. And the higher they are off the planet, the deeper they are down in the Earth. And so a whole bunch of deep earthquakes happen first as a sign of this wave coming up from the core. Comes up below the West Pacific usually, and then spreads out from there and comes over to the United States and then spreads across the US. It goes to Europe and spreads across Europe. But it's like a big fracture in a windshield, the center of the West Pacific. And out emanating from there in all directions like a spider web or spreading out, or the wave spreads out across the entire planet, trying to equalize. And the wave is contained in the plates, so it's going around the planet. It gets to the other side, gets to the antipode, and it intersects another wave. We get interferometry on the opposite side of the planet. It's called an antipode earthquake. Long story. Anyway, there you go. It can replace the fear with vigilance. You can watch it like a storm coming your way. You can. And I don't blame anybody for on the earthquake prognostications where people are like, oh, a 9.0 is going to strike here or something like that. I'm looking at the current earthquakes that are currently taking place. I see that there's more power being pumped in from the deep earthquakes down below, so I know it's going to go up the next magnitude or so. And the more deep earthquakes, the more likelihood that we have of the magnitudes going up further. Think of the deep earthquakes like people in a pool, a swimming pool, with rafts. They're floating on rafts, and one person gets off their raft, and they hold their raft, and they start jumping up and down, making waves in the pool. You ever see somebody do that? I know I've done it. So you start making the waves, and then somebody else gets off their raft, your buddy or whatever, and they start making the waves with their raft, and you're both sitting there going up and down, pumping the energy into the pool, and all of a sudden the waves go across the pool and they reflect and they come back to you. By the time they get to you, you're doing another push down with your raft, aren't you? And that puts out another wave. And then what starts happening is these funky waves form in the pool, not like a regular wave, but it's called a standing wave. And the standing waves build and build and build. And if other people are floating on their rafts, you'll knock them off. And it can even collapse an up above the ground pool because the above the ground pool can't contain the wave strength. Bust the side with a standing wave. And in the ground pool, guess what happens? Well, the ground can contain the wave, but the water goes up and out of the pool and splashes out of the pool. So think of the deep earthquakes like someone with a raft sending splashing waves out into the edges of the tank. And in this case, the tank are the plates up above it. And they have to try to contain that wave. So it spreads out across the cracks in the plate, obviously. And we get earthquakes dropped off along the way as the wave spreads. The bigger the wave, the bigger the earthquakes. Pretty simple, actually. But you have to understand the standing wave thing and understand where it's coming from. And then that just deflates everything that the professionals said about it being random. And you remember when they said I was faking the earthquake? Professionals came up with all sorts of goofy explanations to try and deny that this was happening as I was publishing it all publicly as I was finding it. I did it my way, guys. There's a Frank Sinatra song about what I did with this earthquake thing. I did it my way. White paper what? No, I'm just going to show everybody in videos. You can't deny that shit. White paper, you can your peers have to sign off on it. Me, I'm putting it in a video. This is what it is. Take it or leave it. I did it my way. Oh, man. Here, hold on. I got a version of this. Hold on. There we go. We'll see this out. This will end the broadcast. Much love, guys. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are the best. I want to thank you for being part of the Dutch Sense operation, for putting up with me. Let me sign off. What else? That's it. My name is Dutch Sense, and I did an earthquake update just for you. The world hates me, don't know why. Maybe it's because I did it my way. Alright, much love, guys.